everyone, and welcome to a very exciting edition of the Jake's with Jacob Elyachar Podcast, the 5th anniversary season. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. If you're watching us on YouTube, please thumbs up and please subscribe. If you are listening to us on our audio platform, give us a 5-star rating and please please download this episode and more episodes. I cannot end my 5th anniversary season without this guy. He is one of my favorite colleagues, and he has one of the best takes when it comes to the challenge. Please help me welcome my dear friend, Drew Angelman, for his 5th time on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I did not know I was the ending. I was the season finale, the season finale. Yeah, I appreciate
one of the
it.
Season finales. Thank you, Drew. I'm like, seriously, you're one of the final episodes. I'm like, I cannot get the season finale. I cannot have a 5th anniversary season without you because you've been a very important part of my podcast.
Yeah, I mean, going way back, I mean, you were one of the first people to ask me to be a guest on a podcast, and I remember being like, me? Like, what? And so I was very grateful for the opportunity, and I'm grateful to be here for a 5th time, let alone being on the first time, a 5th time, and getting to talk with you about the challenge years in between the first and now the 5th. So I'm very excited.
Absolutely. So I want to give a shout out to Paige and Dylan. I'm sorry, guys. This is our time because the last time you were here it was a very special 30th birthday episode. So I was 35th birthday episode, and I was extremely grateful.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was the first time I actually got to meet both Paige and Dylan. So it was awesome. It was a great connection podcast, and grateful for that time, but also grateful for being able to do a one-on-one chat and talk about a lot of challenge that has happened between that time and now.
All right. So before we get into the challenge, Drew, I got to ask you this. What have you been up to and how have you grown as a content creator since that birthday bash episode?
It's actually really wild because the last few months have been a little bit more difficult because I am in Florida and we've had a lot of hurricanes as of late. This year was wild, and it put a lot of things in perspective for me going into next year. I have this idea of why wait. You know, there's a lot of times where I've had a lot of content that I've been holding on to because waiting for either a mile marker, a big milestone, or anything. And there was just a thing in my mind being like, what if that never happens and you just have to shelve it and then it never comes out? It's like, it's better to just get content out there and stuff that you really want to do. So I think it's just one of those things where I feel a little bit more confident in myself after some reflection and just wanting to just put the best foot forward in 2025. And then I don't know, take it month by month, year by year after that.
And you've grown as a content creator. I'm very proud of you of all what you've done, and you are amazing. I'm so glad you have a massive follow. You're building in such a massive following.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, like I mentioned, the last few months have been a little bit slow in content creation because of like evacuations and doing a whole bunch of different things. But overall, I've really appreciated everybody both on Patreon and the YouTube channel, and seeing crossing the barrier of 35,000 is just like, I don't know, pinch me. I never thought it could happen, and now that it has happened, it's like, wow, okay, wow.
Awesome. I'm so proud of you. So the last time you visited, we had 3 challenges to talk about.
Woo.
All right, so let's start off with Battle of the Champion. We previewed about this when we spoke about this with Paige and Dylan back last year. So just to let you know, a brief refresher, Emmanuel Niagara won the season. Nerys with Mateo is the honorary winner and also People's Champion, which I still believe they should have had a male and female champion. Mm-hmm. However, fans soured on the season. So what were your thoughts on Battle of the New Champion?
So I think the beginning was a bit slow. And by the time we got to the ending, I thought it was actually starting to pick up to where it was like, why couldn't we have had this feeling the entire time? Almost vibe. But looking back on it, I'm actually quite surprised that we were previewing this season. It feels like this was years ago. But yeah, I do agree that they should have had Battle for a New Champion should have been two champs, in my opinion. I had the big realization, and I just put out a short on my channel, like the whole 2024 could be only two champions since we had two solo winners. And then it doesn't, I don't think Eras is going to be deeming a champion this year, at least in 2024, but early 2025. So it's like, we're only going to get two champs the entire year. Feels so weird since back in 2023, we crowned 8 champions with all the spinoffs and everything. So it feels weird. I think that it's not going to age super well. Maybe it'll be more impactful as the years and seasons go on if there's going to be way more seasons, but I just felt like it was a little bit of a dud, in my opinion.
Alrighty. Two of my favorites. Jay Starrett and Asaf Gordon got a lot of the blunt feedback. So I want to start with Jay first because Jay has been a champion of mine. He has been on my platform twice. Every time I go into a Reddit or a Facebook page, I have to step up to the plate and say, guys, please don't take your harshness on Jay. He played a Tony Blanco and Paul Abrahamian game. Jay really went in, and I was proud of him. He finally made a final, for God's sakes. He took out CT over the years. He took out CT. He partnered with Teresa to take out Ashley Ashley. He took out Laurel of all people. I don't know why Jay got so much blowback.
I think it's the idea that Jay was the main villain, and a lot of main villains will get a lot of the pushback from the fans. I mean, Nerys, Horacio, and Kyland were deemed the underdogs. They didn't have all of the numbers. And when somebody else has all the numbers and they feel untouchable, or it comes off in the edit that they feel untouchable, I think people pray for their downfall. So I think that's mainly the narrative that was painted in the season for Jay, because I mean, not too long ago, Jay was like looked at as the underdog in Total Madness, going up against Rogan, getting winning against CT. Everybody was so excited for him to be on the show, and then about 4 seasons after that, now he's looked at as the huge villain. I mean, I think that if anything, it's kind of like marketing class. It's like what I learned in marketing class was you either you want somebody to feel something about you. You don't want to make the audience feel indifferent towards you. So whether it's like super loving or super hating, at least they feel something about you. And I feel like Jay played a pretty decent villain on the season. So I have to give it up for him, at least for being that opposite force against the good guys of Kyland, Horacio, and Nerys. And he did make a final, so you got to give him some credit on that one.
Absolutely. Do you think he can rebuild his reputation? Because I think if he was in 40, he would have been very targeted immediately by this team. And I think a lot of the vets are not happy with. We're not happy with him, which I think, guys, you guys all played the villain card before. Why are you putting it on Jay?
I think the game would have been dramatically different, especially on the side of Michelle's game from what we see of her playing right now. I think that it would have been a Michelle versus Bananas type of thing still, because if Jay was there, then Michelle and Jay would have been super, super together. They were ride or dies with each other. So I think it would be massively different than what we've seen now. But he would have been targeted. I think so recently. I mean, Kyle and Michelle were able to cool things down with each other, and now they're like saving each other from going into eliminations, which after watching 39 you thought, what could happen on season 40? That was not on my bingo card. Maybe if Jay was here, Kylan would feel very different to Michelle in those regards, but I think it would have been Jay being thrown in multiple times, voted in multiple times, and he would have to be fending for his life. I think anybody, realistically, everybody can change their reputation throughout the seasons. It just depends on what the audience, it depends on timing and what happens on particular seasons. And you can sway the audience if given the right storyline. If you were able to say that Jay is an underdog and he goes into 4 eliminations and starts to win, then maybe at a certain point, the fandom would be like, maybe Jay is getting picked on now. And I feel like I want to root for him.
Like Jenny right now,
Yeah.
like Jenny experience. I think Jenny and Jay together would have been a powerful duo for the rest of the eras to contend with.
Yeah. I also think that Bananas is kind of on that same wavelength right now because there was a time where he was being tossed into this season in particular over and over again, and I feel like Bananas fandom has grown a bit more, or the entertainment that he brings. So I feel like there has been shifts throughout the years, and I mean, doing like player docs and videos on players, you can see the roller coaster throughout the year. So I don't think anybody is completely like even if you're a villain one season, that you could come back and maybe restore like 3 seasons down the line. It's not going to be instantaneous. The next time Jay is on a season, people are still going to probably be rooting for him to be thrown into eliminations a lot to be eliminated, but give him a couple of seasons and I think he can change the tides maybe.
Yeah, I almost snarked at TJ when Jay left. I almost snarked at TJ,
Hmm.
which would not have been happy, which a lot of people would not have been happy with me.
No.
But however, I stand up for my friends, and I also stand up for people that I admire and everything. A sophomore run, I think right now I'm going to go on a rant because I think a sophomore run has not been treated fairly by the challenge community. He's one of the first Jewish men in a long time, especially in this era. And I think that I'm pissed off at Facebook. I'm extremely mad at Reddit about going after him because he's a very hard worker. And I'm calling out Kylan and Chavez. Both of them I'm not happy with both of them, especially with Kylan going after Asaf's mom during 39 and Chavez on Twitter for going after him that Asaf, because by the way, he's one of the pit members of RuPaul's Drag Race. He should have acted like a pit member. I'm like, shame on you, both of you. That's almost anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't delve too much into the social media stuff here and there. I know Asaf had, again, kind of like with Jay, was playing the villain role. And I think he knows, again, that he wants the audience to feel some way about him. And Asaf is not afraid to get into anybody's faces. He's not afraid to make moves that he thinks is better for him or his alliance members. He's also trying to put together a career inside and outside of reality TV. I feel like he is trying to make his name known and be memorable. And I think he's doing that. Whether people want to take it as like super seriously on social media and stuff is fine. I feel like we need to keep family members out of it. Let's not be personal about this. This is a TV show. This is a game. Let's all just be able to take our little like shots at each other, but let's not make it super personal on either side, please.
I agree completely. Frankly, I almost went down to wherever Challenge Mania was at with Kylan. I almost gave him the bird, but however, I knew Scott and Derek would not be pleased.
Yeah.
I saved myself a good one.
Yes, definitely.
All righty, we got to move on. We got to talk about All Stars 4. We finally got All Stars 4. We've been praying that it happened. It was a much talked about season, aired April 10th to June 19th, 2024. We finally saw Cara Maria return after all of that, and she delivered one of the most phenomenal seasons. And boy, that season got my blood boiling because it was Cara versus the world. Cam and Leroy left a bad taste in my mouth. Alan Larson left a bad taste in my mouth. Flora left a bad taste in my mouth. Veronica left a bad taste in my mouth. Gee, seriously, it was not very. And it was also the beginning of Laurel Stucky's downfall. However, Ace and JG also redeemed themselves. So what's your verdict about this?
I think it was a great season for Cara. I think that when she was talked about coming back, people were like, what kind of Cara are we getting? You know, no Pauly, a couple of years off. What will Cara Maria's game look like? And I feel like it was the quintessential Cara Maria game. Outcast, underdog. Well, I mean, she's a 2-time champ. How much of an underdog can she be coming into a season? But she is somebody that is outside of the numbers. And in a game like this, you need the numbers. And I thought that she played a fantastic game. She did a great job. I think that Jay, Ace, Steve. I mean, Steve winning into the final, his first ever final in his challenge career is All Stars 4, which is wild to think about. But All those guys did a really great job. I think that it was really tough to see the Mean Girls Alliance back for the first time, and they seemed to like. Well, Veronica made the final, but like see Rachel go out in a knife throwing contest against Cara. You wish it was something better. It was a more physical competition to see where these two stack up against each other. Luckily, we got them back for 40. Tina loses in a trampoline jumping contest. I mean, Cam and Leroy had the power, but it just seemed so weirdly placed, and the strategy seemed to be all over the place.
And fans did turn on them.
And plans did turn on them. Leroy just didn't look good. I'm sorry, but Leroy's performance was bad. He made the final. He got 7th place, but it seemed like he was stumbling his way through the game. And it just, a lot of things felt off on the season, but we had Cara doing a fantastic job. Laurel was handed a lot of stars. I don't know. Looking back on it, how much hype and how much excitement we had for All Stars 4, it almost felt like a womp womp at the end. It just felt like, well, I guess that was the season, you know. The finale is of who has the most stars, who can skip the most laps at the final leg. I mean, it almost was like the opposite of Battle for a New Champion, where it's like, what could we get? In All Stars 4, it's like, oh, I know what we can get. And then by the end of it, Battle for a New Champion was really ramping up, whereas I think All Stars 4 was really ramping down. And it just, I don't know, it was just a weird situation for All Stars 4. For how long we had to wait to what we actually got, it kind of was just like, all right, sure, you know, let's get to 40.
I agree. And speaking of 40, ta-da! Well, I never thought this cast would have been assembled. On August 14th, this past August, MTV brought back 40 iconic cast members to compete for the $1 million prize. The cast was divided into 4 eras. The OGs represented seasons 1 through 10, Era 2, season 11 through 20, Era 3, season 21 to 30, and Era 4, 31 to present day. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to talk with you, Drew. Do you think these were really strong teams, or who was missing from each era?
Of course, we could have had a little bit better, maybe a little bit more of the, I want to say, like the essentials. I mean, of course, with Era 1, you want to see like players like Landon, who came in on season 10. We want to see Wes on Era 2. Era 3, I feel like we got a good amount of everybody on Era 3, but I mean, wish you could get like a Cam for Era 4. There's just so many people that you wish we could get. Evelyn for Era 2, of course. Like you would Paula, just more people are coming into my brain. A Coral as well for Era 1. Like people who embody the like those eras, like the people that you look back and you go, who from Era 1 defines Era 1, which in this case is 1 through 10. And you got some of those people here. You didn't. I mean, not everybody that you would want or could wish for is going to say yes or be able to make a commitment to go to Thailand, to be there for 3 to 4 months, however long this is filming. But I thought for what they were able to put together, I thought it was a good mixture of people who are relevant in the more recent seasons, like even All Stars and all the spinoffs, and then adding in some of the classic players that you wish were on this season who are able to be on this season.
I agree completely. Era 1, immediately, my friends John, Brennan, Beth Solaric, Cyrus, all 3 powerful competitors were really ready to brag it up. I think Ruthie was missing. Julie absolutely should be here, especially with Tina and Rachel there. It would have been fascinating seeing with Beth and Julie versus Tina and Rachel, and Anissa in the middle.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
And then Era 2, I think Wes kind of regrets. In my opinion, I think he may or may not have regretted hanging out with Jesse Goddard and Teresa over this. It felt like he would have been at home. I think it would have been interesting seeing Jonathan Potassium and Laurel and Cara and Wes in control for Era 2.
I think it would be. I think Era 2 would be even more volatile at the end of the day if Wes was there, because then I think Bananas is sliced in half between hanging out with Wes and his newfound friendship, or at least new publicized friendship with Wes, while also trying to be with hanging out with Laurel when Laurel and Wes don't really get along with each other. So I think on top of that, that would be way more pandemonium inside that whole situation.
And not to mention, I think Davis Mallory should have been back there. I think over Chavez. And then I think and I got to say, it'd been really nice to see Teresa and Sarah Rice there, because it would have been amazing to have both. Especially after during the hurricane, Teresa went after Potassium and Laurel on social, and it'd been interesting to see Teresa work together with Cara and probably and then bury the hatchet with West, and those three could have really took over the team. And same with Sarah Rice. But however, I think having Susie and speaking of Sarah, we had to bring in Susie and Timmy, of course, for Era 1.
Oh, yeah. I just don't think that Timmy would ever come back at all.
I think Era 3, Frank Sweeney Fox would have been a huge miss, because I think Frank would have brought the messiness and with the team, and I think it would have been interesting to see how would have Rachel and how would a Frank interact with a Brad, with a with a Mark Long, with a Jody, with a Katie, with a Rachel. And then also, I think Frank, it also would have been great to see Millionaire Mitchell back as well, especially seeing and also Hunter Barfield. It would have been, I think, having those three together would have really shook up Era 3.
Ashley is the glaring mistake of not having on Era 3, I believe. Like the not mistake, but like omission, I should say. I think that not having Ashley, who is like one of the most impactful players to ever come from Era 3, I would say, as well as Marlon. Ever since X on the Beach Peak of Love and Marlon made his MTV return, I've been waiting for him to be on some sort of season, whether it was All Stars. It was like, your foot is in the door. Marlon is right there. And then they just never called him up or did anything with him. And I'm like, what is happening over there on MTV? Like, the dude is yoked. The dude is ready to compete. You had Naya, you had Avery, you had Jordan here. It's like, let's bring him back. This was the perfect time to do it.
All right, a lot of people. If I had to repick out people, I would say, "Hey, Leroy, I'm gonna switch you out with Marlon or Frank, and Avery. I'm so sorry, honey, but however, Millionaire Mitchell has her spots."
Yeah, I would. That's pretty solid. That would be really solid.
Okay, Era 4, I have the most trouble with, because this group did not feel right at all. I gotta say, I would keep Paulie, but however, I would switch out Josh and Kylan with Joss Mooney. I kind of wish MTV did him dirty. And then Turbo.
Turbo would have been interesting. I feel like after 38 and everything that happened there, it was like, I don't know. They were like not ready to get him back so soon. And Turbo's been doing incredible. He's going to be on a new Germany competition show very soon.
Jan, I believe.
Yeah. And it's the same one that Horacio does, but just in Germany. So, yeah, I mean,
but the thing is, I would have loved to have seen a Turbo go after a Brad, a Rachel, a Katie.
Oh my gosh, I feel like everybody would be so like, I'm sorry, but he would have stirred up the pot so early on, and he would have been thrown into multiple eliminations. But at least we would have had him with Jordan there, because we missed him. We missed having Turbo and Jordan be on a season together ever since season 34. With season 38, Turbo left as Jordan was walking into the house. So that would have been an interesting through line. Seeing Turbo with all of these OGs and everything would have been interesting. And he's just he stirs up the drama. He likes to talk his stuff, and then he wants to compete. And I think that's basically what we want a challenger to be. We want drama, we want entertainment, we want competition, and we know he can win and he can go against anybody. And I think that would have been fantastic to have him on season 40 and maybe go head to head with Jordan.
Oh yeah. Okay, the dream cast for the guys for season 40, if I had to recast this whole thing: Horacio, Jay Starrett, Joss Mooney, Paulie, Turbo.
That would be be crazy. that would be that would be one of the most interesting castings, and it would be, I think, a lot more maybe cohesive, I would say, since like a lot of them worked together, I think, in the past with like on season 34, a lot of them worked with each other. So I think there would have been a little bit more cohesion on era 4, but then they would be at odds with everybody else, which I think
Yeah.
you want at least in the beginning of the season.
And Joss would have had Jay's back, especially after Rogan apologized to him about the Total Madness injury.
Yeah.
And then for the girls, I got to say, Tavon was missing.
Yeah.
Tavon and Georgia. Tavon, Jenny, Georgia, along with Nerese.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the fifth girl. Maybe Michelle, and Michelle, that would have been insane.
Yeah, it would be. I kind of want to keep Michelle in there because she's doing so well this season.
And I
So
also said Jenny, right?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, Jenny too. That would have been but Davon, Jenny, Georgia, Nerese, and Michelle. Oh my God.
That would be pretty incredible. I feel
That
like,
would have
yeah.
Era 4, if my picks for Era, if all those picks with Era 4 were there, Era 4 would have dominated.
They would have been really good. They would have been a really solid group, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Era 4 created a lot of shocking moments. We got to first talk about Era 1's wipeout. That was awful to see.
Yeah. I think that was the most shocking / most disappointing thing. Because again, you have all of these people. The whole conversations leading up to this season is how much impact does the OGs have? Can they line up on against all the other groups and eras? You have Paulie going on social media talking about how keep the OGs on All Stars. All Stars seems to be widely more popular than whatever the flagship show is doing. And then you have a season like this where it's legit like competitive and head to head. And Era 1 just seems to just, I don't know. It's one of those things where, is it the competitions? Is it the daily? Is it who's going up against whom? I think it's a combination of everything. And you just don't know with all the other variables that aren't shown, like how much does that play on your mental? I've heard there's a ton of injuries this season. They're sleeping in a castle that is not actually a house and only has one bathroom in it. So it's one of those things where it's like, how much other stuff was at play to infect the game? But everybody else has to deal with that stuff. And it just seemed like Era 1 minus Rachel just could not hang.
And then also that we also had fan favorites leave too soon. Amanda, Emily, Horacio, Joanna, Leroy, Nerese, Paulie, and Tony time. All that's way too early.
Yeah, I think the main one, Paulie and Nerese and Leroy were all like right away. There was a lot of conversation with Tony, whether his head was in the game. I mean, his head was in the game enough to take out Leroy, and then somehow his head is not in the game by the time he's doing a stalemate with Avery.
Which I'm not happy about, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, and then your next bullet point is about Horacio and Derek, which, I mean, that was a huge situation. And then if I'm not mistaken, they took a week off after that episode aired. So that was like the worst time to take a week off, because if they had an episode right after that episode, they probably would have cleared up everything. Everybody would have forgotten it way sooner. But because we had to marinate in it for like a whole week, a whole extra week, it just started like drumming up so much controversy. And it's just weird. It's a weird situation. And I blame the editing and the decision making on going about their announcement of who the winner was, because it just felt scummy. And so even when they made the raw footage available to Derek and Horacio, and eventually Horacio was like, yeah, he beat me, whatever. I think it was just like, I think at that point, Horacio was like, I said my piece. I want this to be over with. This has been over 2 weeks. This filmed like 6 months ago. I just want to be over with it. So I think that played more of a factor than him being like, yeah, Derek deserved the win or whatever. But at the same time, I think they could have done it so much better for the fandom. And I think they just wanted to like sweep it under the rug. And it just didn't happen that way. And I think more things throughout the years get people's red alarms going to where it's like, are you doing this or is this the real thing? To the point where we get to this thing and it's like, why are you doing it? Why can't you just learn to be a little bit more transparent with all of us?
I agree, and I'm so shocked that fans turned on Derek like that. Because I gotta say this, Derek is like an honorary older brother figure to me in the podcasting world, and he was the person that kick-started the season. You and I both know, Drew, that I always root for my friends, and I stand by them no matter what happens.
Yeah. I think it was less angry at Derek because realistically, like, I don't think I think Derek was the criticism for Derek was he was just the byproduct. Like when there's like a flag on a football game, I think more people are upset about the refs throwing the flag than the team that benefits from it. So I think Derek was just a byproduct of like the situation that was happening. Everyone is getting like losing members at an alarming rate. Now it's like, oh, well, they don't want all of everyone to go. So if it looks a little funky and it's a little close, we're just going to give it to Derek instead of Horacio kind of vibe. So I think that's where the criticism was for them. But ultimately, this falls on production with not showing the people picking up the pegs to put them back into the people's boards for them, not making it clear, not showing them discussing it. It just seemed like they were like, we're going to just say it's this result and we're not going to show that we talked about it for like 45 minutes to an hour. So I don't know. They could have played it so much better than they did. And I think it was the situation where it's like Horacio again looks like the underdog. The era one is really, really flopping. So it looks funky when they hand it to Derek or say he's the winner when everybody is like, hey, he's missing a peg when it was on the board. I think they could have handled it so much better instead of trying to make it look clean and sleek and smooth. Just show the people picking up the pegs or make it a factor of saying, hey, if you drop the pegs, we have people picking them up. Like this, we all know this is a production. This is a show. We know things don't run 100% smoothly. So just draw from those moments of imperfections. And it's kind of like House of Villains. We talked about West being on House of Villains. They're clearly a reality show and they lean into that. This is just for fun and giggles. And we're going to show production talking to the people and show them messing up all the time. Like, that's fine. It's a reality show. It's supposed to be that way. But I feel like they want to be so robotic and be like, everything is fine. Nothing is wrong. Things go wrong and it's fine to show them. And I just hate that they want to act like they don't because it just comes off inauthentic. And so when things happen, I'm sorry, I'm going on in this, but when things happen like this, it makes the fans question motives behind it because you try to make it seem like it's whatever, but it's actually like feels off from what you're trying to portray yourself to be. So that's just my thing.
I agree. Now we got to bring on Tony versus Avery. I think that was awful. What happened was awful. Tony is not Kenny. Tony is not Evan. Tony is not Zach. I was so angry how that played out. And Ryan flicking Tony off after he left. Tony's daughters could have watched that.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony's been through, and I followed Tony for a long time, especially after what happened with Alyssa's injury, with all the stuff going on in his personal life. I admire Tony so much. That should not have happened. And I really wanted to go to Challenge Mania myself in Arizona, and also delivered a bingo to Ryan and to Chavez. I told Ryan in his tweet in my Instagram, I said that was so low of you, and he answered me back. He kind of was like, well, that was for defending my friend, and I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. But like, if I ever have Ryan, I'm definitely going to bring him on and talk about that. But I think that was so out of control, out of proportion. And Tony, well, I sensed in his interview with you, he was mad.
Yeah. From the time that I talked to him, he did seem genuinely upset that people were questioning whether his head was fully in the game. I mean, he did take time away from his family. It does feel like he kind of got his time on All Stars 4 was a bit robbed. I mean, Tony's coming in as one of the top guys, and he gets pulled out of the game for family matters and family emergency and everything. And so it's like you just don't know how far he could have went on that season, where his game could have went. I feel like he could have definitely made the final. I mean, if Tony was having second thoughts, why wouldn't he have lost to Leroy in the very first elimination? Why did he wait till the fourth episode and fourth time to go in or whatever, whenever that was? I don't know all the episodes by heart, but it's like I think he was trying to do a game move. I think he was trying to force a move and try to get his way. It wasn't working. Avery decided to make her own move. I mean, I'm sorry, but both people had an opportunity to save themselves one way or the other, and neither one of them wanted to budge. So I feel like it's a 50-50 split on the decision that was made to stalemate. It's not all on Tony for wanting to go in. It's not all on Avery for wanting to save her best friend. It's like there could have been a decision made. There could have been a compromise made. I totally see where both of them are coming from. Granted, it I think it makes a lot more sense and reason that Avery wanted to save her friend from going in, where Tony doesn't really have a connection, but that was the move that he thought was best. And sometimes you just got to take your shots early and hope they work out for you. And for Tony, it just didn't. I just felt like it's not on either one of them. But at the same time, I think that the narrative was way more beneficial for Avery for having a close, personal, longtime friend on the block and wanting her to save him was so resonant. Was much more resonant to everybody than Tony just being like, I want to save these people because they may help me out later on in the game. So the edit really benefited Avery and her reasoning at the end of the day. So I think that's why a lot of people was able to connect with Avery on that sense, but it's on both of them. It's a 50-50 decision. And so to me, I feel like it's on both of them at the end of the day.
I gotta say this though, when Karma came calling, I pulled up a Mark Hamill Joker laugh, an Ian McDermott Palpatine laugh, and a Jonathan Freeman Jafar laugh when I saw Avery laugh. I was so thrilled, and like Karma call got her, and I was like giving a standing ovation and Rupert and all of it.
Gosh, though, going in against Rachel in a boxing thing is rough. I don't think anybody, let alone like no woman, no man wants to go in against Rachel in a ring with boxing gloves. I mean, she is not leaving that thing without winning.
Oh yeah, I would not mess with Rachel at all. We got to talk about something serious because a lot of fans are really unanimous, and I think a lot of podcast platforms are as well unanimous with this decision about what happened between Laurel and Cara Maria. I think it's time that she gets banned. I think that what happened did not sit well with me, and I think that a lot of people are now ready to say it's time for MTV to give her the Camilla and Sally D treatment.
There was a point where I was very mad at Laurel. She looked really terrible in All Stars 4. How she felt like she needed to attack people for questioning her and Nicole, like rekindling things and being like, just somebody being like, hey, don't get hurt or don't, and then she would lash out. And it's like, if you feel like that's the need or that's the way you need to go about it, maybe you're in the wrong relationship or maybe you're pursuing the wrong thing and you know it deep down inside, but externally you don't want to admit it or internally you don't want to admit it. And then it just to the point where people were like, I don't want to see Laurel and Cara Maria back on the same season. But lingering in the background, we all knew that there was Cara Maria and Laurel on season 40. And lo and behold, it is terrible. I think that Laurel's reputation, at least through my eyes, has really taken a huge fall. Granted, she won All Stars 4, but to me, that doesn't amount to a whole sack of beans at the end of the day. So to me, I'm like, I would rather not see Laurel back for a long time. There was a point where I felt like I was worried for her mental health, the way she was posting on social media so much, to the point where I was like, I hope she gets she seeks help, she seeks support. that she is able to live as happy of a life as she's saying she is on social media. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, I prefer not to see her on the show just because I don't think I can handle seeing her in any way, shape, or form, because I just feel really sad for her.
I think, in all honesty, I know a lot of people. I've been watching Twitter, and there's a movement going on about bringing this first woman back. And I'm going to say this: bring back Dee. I know I rather had Dee right now, who's ready to compete, even though she did something awful, versus Laurel. I think what Laurel did right now is not the same as what Dee did, and I think that's a very hot take. But tough decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they have brought in so many more people from the international shows, from the spinoffs, that I would like to see on the show before bringing back anybody with a checkered past or whatever type of past. They cut ties for a reason, and I feel like they brought in so many newer faces so recently that I'm like, please develop somebody. Please develop somebody, because as we see with season 40, not everybody is going to be able to be doing this for the next 4 to 5 years, even on All Stars. So there needs to be that next level, that next tier. And I'm just praying that they'll bring back somebody to have those storylines and that we can focus on moving forward, in my opinion. And I definitely don't think Laurel is the person to bring back. And yeah, no.
I agree. We agree on that. So, all righty. So we saw a lot of shocking wins. Corey won 3 in a row, 3 against two of the most powerful men in challenge history, Derek Kaczynski and Brad. And Josh finally got his karma. And then, of course, Tina defeated Emily Strom.
Yeah. I think you're missing one other thing. And the most shocking to me is I think Michelle's won 3 eliminations. And I think she's only won, it was only like 1 or 2 eliminations prior to the season, I think. So her winning so much and being in the top 5 of women, I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card coming into this season, especially with everything that happened on season 39 and seeing the team makeup here on season 40, as well as what happened on USA 2. So I feel like Michelle is having a huge, like, Michelle-assance in a way, as well as everything that's happened, because it's not like she's like falling within the numbers. She is out there. She has rivalries with big time players, with the Bananas Angels and everything, and she has found a core group outside of Devon to be able to latch onto and have this strong connection and bond. And even doing terrible and daily challenges, she's been doing fantastic. So Michelle is also shocking me this season in a big way.
I have to say this, and while we're on the subject of Bananas Angel, why didn't they watch All Quiet on Set?
What?
With the foot fetish, because it reminded me so much of Quiet on Set with the whole thing on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I don't. That's that whole stuff. Please no, I don't want to see any more foot stuff. That one episode is like haunts my memories.
Same here. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? To the challenge editing team, why did he do that episode? Because especially after someone in your parent company caused a lot of chaos using foot fetishes.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some. We got to talk about Gamer's tweet, because as the season has progressed, we've seen this episode. And GamerVev, those of you who don't know, GamerVev is one of the most well-known challenge spoilers. They posted this. Episode is boring. OMG, I'm going to have to tune out. So what were your thoughts when you saw this tweet?
I will say that as the season dwindles down in competitors and stuff, it gets really tough to fill out 90 minutes. In my opinion, it just proves that there is tough, because whoever wins, you kind of know who they've been rocking with the entire time. So there's a lot of filler after the daily challenge. I feel like this past week's episode 15. I mean, Kylan wins and Aviv is going in. He's not going to send in Michelle, and everybody knows he's not going to send in Michelle. So To me, I had this talk with Kristen on in my Discord and on Patreon that I feel there is a certain point where we can go from 90-minute episodes down to 60-minute episodes. And I feel like the episodes will be a little bit quicker, they'll be a lot cleaner, they'll be smoother, and I feel like we can get a lot of the info right away. And I think it would be a lot better for everybody at the end of the day if it went down to 60 minutes and then maybe bump it back up if the final is really good. But I feel like you could do a 2-hour final and knock everything out. But to me, I ever since we gotten a lot of the other people down and then we got to a solo game, it has really kind of started mellowing out quite a bit. And so I can understand where Gamer Vev is coming from. And I kind of wish they would go down to 60-minute episodes at a certain point, because I like that they had 90 minutes for 40 people at one point. Then they quickly cut it down to 32. And then I thought that was good. But at a certain point, you can cut it down to 60 minutes. And I think the episodes will fly by and people will be more entertained than trying to fill up 90 minutes of like feet content like we were just talking about, because that was a huge part of one of the episodes, is just them talking about how great their feet are, which is wild.
Oh my God, that is making me vomit right now. I'm almost ready to vomit. So Drew,
I'm sorry.
All righty. We now have our top 10. We now have our top 10. It is representing Era 1 is Rachel Robinson. Representing Era 2 is Cara Maria Sorbello Chavez, and the man known as Jonathan Potassium. Representing Era 3, Corey Wharton, Jordan Wisely, Tori Deal, and finally representing Era 4, Michelle Fitzgerald, Jake's state friend Jenny West, and Kylan Young. That called that for Kylan. Alrighty, so Drew, I'm going to start with you. Who do you have winning this thing? Or who do I have rooting for from now on?
Who do I have winning it? Okay. Are we doing both picks or just men picks or?
Both.
Okay. Let's all right. So here's what I want to say. For the men, I think that if we're just picking, because there's going to probably be 2 more eliminations to get down to 8 people. So just looking at who's here, I think that Jordan and Kylan are the top 2 competitors of the season. But in a final, I can't help but to want to say Jordan has the best odds. It is wild that this man has not been in an elimination yet. He has possibly 1, maybe 2 more chances if there's a purge to be eliminated or be in an elimination, I should say, because he has not done it. Him and Derek are like the only 2 players at this point who have not been. How? Why? What? It's wild. I think that out of those 2 competitors, Jordan has the best opportunity. Personally, I would love to see Corey win. I would love Corey to get his first challenge championship. I was rooting so hard for him on USA 2. He's here doing the most, and he's doing an incredible job. I would love to see him cap off this season with a winning over these incredible competitors and a cast like this, and just have that like confirmation, like I'm a challenge champion. I would love for Corey to get that. To me right now, it's tough not to pick Tori. Tori has shown and proved that she is incredible. I think this is one of, if not the most stacked women's side of the cast as we're inching closer to the final. I mean, you can give it to any one of these players, you know? I think Michelle's is going to be a tough underdog out of the other 4 just because she isn't a champion. She's never made a final. But when it comes down to it, Jenny's a champion and super strong. Tori's a champion, super strong. Cara Maria, multi-champion. Rachel, multi-champion. I mean, any one of those 4 women on any given season can win. I just think that Tori has proven and that she is the competitor right now to beat. She is well-rounded. She's got the physicality. She's got the strategy. She's got puzzle ability. It's really tough to see any form of weakness in her game. So I really like Tori at this moment. I mean, you can't she's won like 5 daily challenges, 4 daily three individual daily challenges, and then she's won in the team aspect multiple times. I just feel like she's just really, really strong. I think that yeah, I'm just gonna go with Tori right now. Go with the ex-fiance couple.
Alrighty, so my picks. The picks I'm rooting for the remainder of the season. Rachel, obviously, she survived the wipeout of
Mhm,
Era One and has played a really good game so far. I may have disagreed with partnering with Potassium. Cara Maria, she has survived a lot. She has played
mhm.
a very low card key, especially after getting thrown in by Laurel and after Laurel's and surviving Laurel's psychological warfare. I think her, and of course Jenny West. I've been waiting to see Jenny back for so long, and I think having her being thrown in so many times, I think she definitely, it'd be great to see her win, especially to give a big middle finger to all of the people at Air 4 that really, especially Kylan. And then also for the men, the only two people I'm rooting for, Jordan Wisely and Corey Wharton. Jordan, you said this. I am shocked that he has not been thrown into elimination.
Yeah.
I am shocked because he could have easily gotten wiped out by Brad. He could have easily gotten wiped out by Derek. He could have easily gotten wiped out by Horacio. But to have him this far, they made a huge mistake letting him near the end. And I think they're going to pay for it. However, this is my second. I wouldn't count out Corey Wharton. Corey has always been the groomsman, never the groom. This season has been his personal best. Taking out his resume, taking out two of the biggest threats on Era One and of the greatest of all time. Absolutely. I think if it's anybody's game to lose, it's Corey.
Can I say one last thing?
Sure.
Real quick. I said that I was rooting for Corey to win and get that win. I didn't do that on the women's side. I would love for Cara Maria to get that win.
Oh, same
To
here.
get that into the Parthenon of to be one of only 3 women to have 3 challenge championships and to kind of like, I don't know, to prove Laurel wrong that it's like Laurel's like, oh, she only won because I wasn't on those seasons. And if Cara were to come out of this with a win, getting her 3rd challenge championship, cementing herself as a GOAT challenger, which not saying that she isn't one right now, but just having that reputation that 3rd win on her resume would be incredible. I mean, the same thing with Rachel as well. I mean, I think she could really have a strong contention being with Veronica and Evelyn. But either one of those 2 women could win, and that would be incredible for the series. I just think that it would be really, really fun to see Cara Maria get her 3rd win and kind of stick it to what happened on All Stars 4, her major return this season, this type of cast, and then everything she endured with Laurel on both All Stars 4 and this would be just like a really crowning jewel, I feel.
I totally agree, my friend. So now we got to talk about the social media wars. Challenge 40 has been full of social media. I think I got to give a shout out to my friend Bloody Money because I wanted this opinion on this because it's Laurel versus everyone. She has gone up against Cara Maria, Jarrell, Horacio, Nerys, and Ryan all throughout the season on social media.
This whole thing made me worried about Laurel, how much she was talking, how much because she's the first person to say that she's the happiest that everybody else is talking about her, and she is happy living her life outside of the challenge and not worried about anybody. Yet she's going up against all of these people at once. It's like, all right, something's not adding up here, especially with the whole stuff with like Horacio and Nerys being like, Horacio said I was the biggest blessing he's ever had on the challenge. And it's like, all right, please stop. Like, no, just no. It's rough.
I agree. We did this a little bit earlier. Tony did went on social media and address this. However, Rachel, Derek, Avery, and Adam went after him, and I was ticked.
It's just, I don't know. I get it that it's like, oh, they're defending Avery and everything, but at the same time, it's like at the end of the day, it's fine because Avery won. Avery did her thing. She won it. There's no, I don't. I truly don't think that there was a need for everybody to dump on Tony when the results were what they were. You know, they got what they wanted. Tony's gone. Avery got to stay. It is what it is. It happened, you know.
And Adam should not be talking, especially after bad mouthing Cara Maria all throughout All Stars 4.
Yeah, Adam is Adam. You know, I will never shudder at the whole spin thing that he said in his confessionals to Steve and everything. Like that was just so gross. And yeah, no, thank you.
And he's immature, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, we already discussed harassment, but one thing we did not discuss is Amanda going wild on Twitter.
I mean, the sky is blue, and Amanda will take no prisoners on X/Twitter, especially if somebody comes back at her. So I'm not surprised about Amanda whatsoever. And you know what? I'm cool with whatever she wants to say out there because she doesn't do it a ton. But when she feels the need, I feel like she just throws fireballs at everybody, and I'm fine with it.
Speaking of fire, we saw the breakup of CT, and I love C to death. I would be an honor to speak with him, but it was so heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to see this go through.
Yeah, I saw this very recently. I had no idea what was going on. And even when I was seeing some of the re-uploads, I was like, what is happening? It felt messy. It felt very reactionary. I hope he's doing okay. Because breakups are tough, but doing it publicly and then rethinking how you did it or what you posted and stuff can really eat away at you. So I just hope he's doing okay. I hope both parties are doing okay in the breakup.
I completely agree. Ryan and Amanda, I think, would probably be the most reactionary regarding this season. Ryan has no, like, I've been following Ryan's Instagram, and he's been giving Andy Cohen and Howard Stern a run for their money.
Really? I haven't really kept up with some of this stuff.
Ryan has been giving hot topics and takes that it's been insanely fun to watch.
Nice. I got to get up on that.
Yeah, so it's been a very interesting to see Ryan's hot takes, especially dishing it out to Laurel every second he gets. But I'm like, Ryan, I know you're working in reality TV, but like, it's like there's a part of me that's like, okay, I'm like happy to do this, but at the same time, I'm like worried about like future employers.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I don't know anything about that, but I gotta get on Ryan's stuff.
All righty. We got to move on to talk about Devin and Michelle's romances was one of the most talked about things on social media. However, once Devin left, all heck broke loose. The treaty between Devin and Potassium broke up, and Rachel called out Devin for doing podcasts after he eliminated. I'm like, and then Beth jumped in when I got to say to Rachel, you are an incredible goat. However, you would not be where you are right now if it wasn't for Beth Stolarik. She is one of the founding mothers of reality television. Beth started this off, and she is probably reality TV greatness. So back off.
Yeah, I didn't really know about the Beth stuff, Beth versus Rachel, until you mentioned it before we started recording. But it is one of those things where I think that there was a lot of personal stuff being introduced into this show. There was a lot of things outside of the show that was leaking into the show, like Bananas being like, hey, look out for Devin, Michelle, and everything like that. Like, and Devin taking that personally, I can understand it. And there's this weird like disconnect with like what was said and what wasn't said. Devin says this was what Johnny mentioned at a party early on, but then Johnny is saying that never happened, and it gets you confused. It gets everything confused, and I just feel like there was a certain point where people just aren't taking each other's sides anymore. They feel like they can play the game. They don't have to take on other people's personalities if they don't want to. They don't have to be friends if they don't want to. And I truly believe that that's just how it was this season. Devin came back and was like, sure, Bananas I can hang out. I'll tolerate him. He'll tolerate me. And we'll go through this thing. And maybe they did become friends at a certain point. But at a certain point, friendships can just end. And I feel like that's what just happened this season. Devin was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. I don't want to deal with this. And that leaked into Tori's game. That leaked into Michelle's game. And they can make their own decisions. I mean, Devin, Bananas wants to say that Devin infiltrated Tori's mind and like brainwashed her into taking on his vendettas against Bananas. But Tori is smart. Tori has played the game and she made the decision not to want to play with Bananas. And that was her decision. And it's working out wonders for her because she's still in this game. So I don't know. It's wild that this is the situation that they want to do it, but I also see why both are stoking the flames to keep this whole thing alive. And they want to now. Rachel was on Challenge Mania podcast, and thanks to a patron member giving podcast notes, Diana Bean, she said that Rachel's whole thing with Devin is that apparently at the reunion they buried the hatchet. They seemed really good on good notes and everything, and then it wasn't until very recently that Devin restoked the flames between him and Rachel and calling her out for why didn't she step up to Bananas in the bus fight and everything. Probably because that episode hadn't aired and they didn't know it at that time because they don't get early access to episodes for the reunions. So he probably didn't know all of that was said, or maybe Michelle did say it and then he just waited until the episode aired. Who knows? But it's one of those things where this is just how it is nowadays. You know, you got to just jump on social media. And I don't think Rachel was ready for that or very knowledgeable about that or like known about that before coming on to 40, where a lot of the newer era players are here. And then that's what they do. That's how they start making their money. That's how they do T accounts and all this other stuff. It's like, this is how we stoke the flames going into more seasons. Back then, rivals were paired up on what happened on the season / on Twitter from Bananas on Rivals 2 and Frank. But like, this is now the new thing. This is where rivalries start and get made, you know, so.
I agree. And then also I gotta say this, that's definitely a thing. Like I support a lot of these people, a lot of people. I've defended Cara, I've defended Jay, I defend Polly, I defend Beth, I defend Derek K. The people that come on my podcast, I'm grateful. I will always be grateful for them.
Yeah.
And when they go and get attacked, I try my best not to, it's very hard for me not to clap back because I can be very Elton John, Howard Stern, Simon Cowell, Wendy Williams with brutal, but at the same time, it could also just destroy my brand.
Yeah. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I feel like you have this platform and you can use it how you seem fit or how you want to say it. So, I mean, I totally understand being grateful because I've had a handful of interviews, good amount of exit interviews, and I'm very grateful for anybody who takes time. And there's been times where I get to learn more about them on a personal level and from a game standpoint, and I'm just like, wow, I like you more. You know, I now feel a little bit more connected to you. And so I can understand where you're like wanting to be defensive to the players that have been on your show.
Absolutely, absolutely. So last question is to quote the great David S. Pumpkins. Any questions, guys? All righty, I take it that we're done with that. We're done with that segment. So let's move to friend and talk about I want to talk to you about your cast interviews because you've been on your Patreon, you've been having a chance to talk to the cast members. And what have been some of your reactions that you've learned?
From what I've learned, I've from this season in particular, because I thought USA 2 was incredible. There were so many new players. There were so many players that you never know if they're going to ever return. And they were so awesome to talk to. I loved getting to talk with like Alyssa L was awesome. Alyssa S, Tyler. I mean, a lot of the Big Brother players, because I've never like really was expecting to be able to talk to them, were very like cool and professional. And then Battle for a New Champion was interesting in the sense that, like we were talking about, just getting to learn about these players a little bit more connected. And there were some people that I just didn't like. I was like, I don't know if I'll care to like hear some of their opinions, or I feel like I know them or what their game point was, or I don't even think they had a plan. But then being able to talk to them, you're like, oh, there's a lot more depth to what wasn't being shown on the edit. And some of my favorite cast interviews was from Battle for a New Champion, and players that I didn't think that I would be learning anything from about their game. And I learned so much more than I could have ever thought. That was also the time that I got to hang out with Brad and Cara Maria, which was incredible. And I even had to be somebody had to actually like intervene and be like, okay, well, time's up. Like you, because we were just like having a conversation. I just didn't want it to end. So it was really, really awesome. This season in particular, has been very interesting. Darrell and Tina on the same podcast is a party. It was electric. It was so much fun. I haven't laughed that much in one of my exit interviews than Darrell and Tina. They were impeccable. Josh was awesome. Josh was such a fun interview. He was very complimentary to my content. If anybody comes on and says, "Hey, I know you," I am always like, I get like red in the face. I don't think anybody watches me at a certain point, and then to have somebody that I talk about on my show to say, "Hey, I know you. I've watched some of your content and I really enjoy it." Like, it just means the world to me, and I'm always just shell shocked about it. And then I also go back really quickly through my mind being like, did I say anything really bad about this player or anything like, but they all have the same compliment of saying that I am always level-headed. I don't come at it from a very personal standpoint. I'm always very just game reasoning, logic, and I really, really take that to heart, because I never want to come at any of my content or talk about any of the players on a personal level or feel like I'm attacking them or anything, because I always wanted to keep it to the show and what we see on the show. So everybody who I've gotten to talk to, I've been very thankful, very honored, very blessed, but also very just like super thankful when they say that they seen something of me or heard of me, and I'm just like, and it's positive, and most of it has been positive. So that's awesome.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that. So, okay, guys, we're going to go into spoiler territory a little bit, just really quickly. Fans have been talking about All Stars 5. Have you been checking about what's been going on? Because I've been hearing a lot of things, and this cast is ready to explode.
I have not. So I'll do a rumors video once like the casting and everything comes out. And then I try to stop everything. I don't go on social media during the time that they're saying they're filming, because I don't want to hear anything about like certain drama or whatever, or anybody getting eliminated. The worst thing is going on like X, and then you cross paths with somebody that puts up a black and white photo, and it's like they comment about somebody losing or something. I'm like, no, I don't want to see this. So I've done really well the last like years to know to stay away from it. But I do know like who's on the cast because I make the cast rumor videos. This cast for All Stars 5, very interesting. I see where they're coming from and what they are trying to do. It feels like they're starting to add a theme and a topic to these seasons to make it maybe rival more of the main series and possibly gain more subscribers and followers onto Paramount Plus. I think it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be one of those seasons where I feel like it could be a real big hit via game points, game strategy, or it could be one of those seasons where it's just like, I don't know, a make or break point for All Stars. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm very on the fence about it. right now at the moment.
I'm excited. I'm not. And guys, if you want to find out more about the All Star 5 talk, Paige visited the podcast earlier this year. Go watch that podcast because she does a wonderful job breaking it down and breaking everything down.
Sweet deal.
Alrighty, so moving on. One of the second last question. Got to talk about 41. 41 is on the horizon. Who would you like to see compete? And actually, let's make this fun. Which cast members did not appear on 40 you want to see compete?
Ooh, not on 40. That's so interesting. Not on 40? Gosh.
I threw
That's
you through a loop, my friend.
Yeah, you did. Because I'm trying to think of like who would be good, but so many
Do you want
people
me to
that
think? I have some people in mind.
Okay, yeah.
So I
Help me
got
out
to
here.
start with my friend Jay Starrett. I think it's time for him to come back. It's time for him to redeem himself in John's eyes. I gotta say, Beth Solaric. I really want to see her one final time on the main franchise, and I think it'd be great to have John Brennan with her as well, as same with Cyrus, especially when you have some of the OGs representing.
Mhm.
Era two, I think it'd be very interesting to see Davis Mallory's ready to come back to play. I think it'd be great to have him back after a long time. I think Frank Sweeney Fox is finally ready to play again, so let bring on Frank. I would love to see. I would love to see Marlon. You mentioned Marlon, and I think a big one that would have people talking. Marie Rhoda.
Oh, yeah.
I think Marie's ready as well to come back. And then I think from Eric's from let's see. Yeah, I threw everybody through it. So
I
I
would
think
say
that based on the people I said, I think Ashley Millionaire Mitchell, of course.
yeah.
And then I think a big one, I think a lot of people really want to see him back, especially after his social media posts. I think it's time for Nelson to come home.
I would say Marlon is a top guy. I would love to see just back on the challenge in general. I also like Amber and Ashley as well.
Same
Uh,
here.
so I would nominate those 3 players for now. Um, I can't. You threw me for a loop. I didn't even, I didn't even prepare for that one. Um, but yeah, yeah. I think those 3 are like my top 3, but All Stars 5, we might get one of the people that I mentioned. So we'll see. We'll see on that one.
And I might, and I think I might have, and I think we might have gotten 3 of the people that I mentioned. I think. So anyway, my friend, last question. Are you ready?
I think so.
Where can my audience find your content? Where can they follow your adventures, Drew?
Mainly on youtube.com/Angelcake Entertainment or Angelcake Vids. I post mainly challenge content over there, as well as patreon.com/Angelcake Vids, where I get to put up even better content, I should say, because that's where I won't get hit with all these demonetizations and everything. So if you want to see some spicier challenge content like fights and arguments and a couple more think pieces, then they're going to be over at patreon.com/Angelcakevids. But youtube.com, I got a huge amount of stuff that I have already written out for 2025. Like the CT docu-series, which is going to be like 6 parts, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a ton of research and everything, but I have 2 of the scripts pretty much laid out / written out, and I'm actually gonna have to rewrite one of them right now. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of great content coming up in 2025. Again, that idea of not why wait, not waiting, just put out the content that you would want to see out in the world and content that I've been wanting to produce for a long time. And so this year is going to be pretty much just putting everything out there and just see what happens.
I am so excited to see what 2025 has in store for you. So, guys, if you had missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast and maybe past Drew appearances, visit our channels on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, if you're on social media, I'm on social media too. Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. and want to watch some of Drew's past appearances and all my conversations with John and Beth and Paulie and Ed and Jay and Joss and Jenny, head to jakes-take.com. Once again, jakes-take.com. Drew, thank you so much for coming on my 5th anniversary season. I'm so grateful for our friendship. And it means a lot for me to you to be on this milestone season. And I could not end 2024 without a conversation with you.
I really, really appreciate it. This was an honor. It was an honor the first time you asked me. It's been an honor ever since. Every other appearance that I've been here, as well as this one on your 5th anniversary season. So I really, really appreciate it. It's been great every single time, and this one is also great. So I really appreciate it, and I value our friendship. Thank you so much.
I value our friendship too, my friend, and I cannot wait for what 2025 has in store for both of us. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.